Woohoo! We get to learn the enrollment stuff. Just give me a nod if you have felt the magic that can be created on Zoom. How many of you have had some kind of a transformation on Zoom, right? Whether you've led one or experienced one. And, I keep getting the same message from the universe over and over again. Like, now is not the time to micromanage the method of which we give our gifts. Now is the time to just give our gifts in whatever form we can give our gifts, because the world needs it now more than ever. And each and every one of you is in exactly the right place. So we can get you even more clear on standing in the value of what you offer, on powerfully asking for the sale in a confident way, really building the gap between where people are and where they really want to be. So we could not be in a more appropriate place for many of you guys to take the next step. The language we're going to give you today to get you more confident about enrollment, it's great, but none of it works without you, right? And so raise your hand if you'd love to use today as a launch pad to birth that one next part of the new paradigm business for yourself before this global reset starts to shift again, right? Like, this day is a launch pad. And so what I know about enrollment is that it is something that we're never going to stop being a student of. I still get like butterflies in my tummy when I step into a new level of enrolling somebody in something that means something to me. Here's an example. When I had to cancel my event, I got on the phone with our event coordinator, Shay. Anybody ever met Shay? Shay is also the event coordinator for Lisa Nichols. At the end of our event, and by the way, Lisa Nichols is like my total spiritual crush. Raise your hand if you have spiritual crushes in the world, like leaders that, like, if you could just get in the same vicinity of them, like, it would up-level you. So at the end of my event, I was exhausted. I was driving across town to have a chiropractor session with the one chiropractor that was still open in town. And my inner knowing said to me, you need to text Shay and see if she wants to debrief the virtual event, because here's a woman who has made her living off of live events. And I'm not the only event of hers that got canceled. And so she made about half of what she would have with us had the live event gone through. And I knew she was going to need my help. And so I texted her and she's like, I was just thinking about you. Can you talk now? So there I am, running on fumes, driving across town, having this conversation with Shay, and it completely uplifted me. She was like, you have no idea what it's like being an event coordinator in lockdown. And I was like, no, I can't even imagine. And I started telling her some of the things that we did for our virtual event. And she was in tears. She's like, I think I can do this for my clients. And I was like, I think you can. I know you can. So I sent her our Facebook groups checklist and our Facebook challenges, how-to little handout that I've made. And I was like, whose event is next? And she was like, I was like, what big event is next? And she said 2 different names, and one of them was Lisa Nichols. And I said, well, you tell Lisa that if she needs anything at all, she should call me. Lo and behold, the next day, fucking Lisa Nichols calls me up, right? So then we're on the phone for like an hour and a half, and I'm debriefing the whole event with her. And I realized that this is also an enrollment opportunity for me. And so I start doing all the things that I'm teaching you guys to do. I'm asking her what's missing in her business. I'm like, what's missing on her team that's going to have her rock this virtual event. I'm asking her, what's the highest vision of her event look like? And I start seeing how I might be able to plug in. And at the end of it, she looks at me on Zoom and she goes, I want you to speak on my event. Like, hands down. She's like, your knowingness and understanding of how to create online communities is the perfect addition to day 2. And it just was this affirmation of like, raise your hand if you ever have felt that door is like cracked open a little bit, and that it's going to be scary to walk through it, but it's just like, I'm going to walk through it. Raise your hand. Like, every single one of you guys has just an incredible opportunity in front of you, knowing enrollment, knowing what you know about business, knowing what you've been learning here at Women Rocking Business, to go out there and connect with whoever you want to connect with. And now is a great time to reach out to people that are a little further along than you are. Now's a great time to reach out to people who you might normally not reach out to. Now's a great time to reach out to people in this community who are a little further along than you, because we all have so many less distractions right now. And so I'm putting a stake in the ground for all of us to have that next big door open using the enrollment chops. So Serena, I am so excited to be here with you for this first half of today, especially because when you went through our program, I saw you come in and be like, yeah, great, I'm happy to help people, but I'm not quite sure about this whole selling thing. And now you're like a freaking ninja saleswoman. I mean, Serena was crushing it in our last sales campaign. Like, I was getting texts, the whole group was getting texts from Serena like every other day, like, oh, just put another person in the program. Oh, just talk to another person who's joining the program. And so like the transformation I've seen you make around sales, Serena, I think is it's the thing that I feel the most proud of for you. And I'd love to just hear your intention for the day. And then Serena, I know you have a few sentences you're going to walk us through. So you guys grab a pen and paper, because Serena's going to walk us through just a quick written exercise to get us started today.
Thank you for acknowledging my growth with the grow conversation, right? And what I really had to confront when I jumped into sales and started learning the grow conversation was that it wasn't my decision to decide if my program was something that was going to transform my clients. It was their decision. It was them. It was in them to know if they had the chutzpah to do it, if it was the right timing for them to do it. It was their decision. My job was to hold them in an intimate conversation where I was boldly asking them questions that no one had asked them before about why they really wanted it, what they were really struggling with. And if I could boldly hold them in that conversation and guide them through the components of the grow conversation, a decision would come to them on their own. Maybe not where they would get the money to invest, maybe not in that exact moment, because I'd have to do a follow-up, but in them would arise their knowingness that this was the right time for them, and then I would just make it easy for them. That was a huge game changer for me in discovering that piece of being that bold in a grow conversation, like I would be if they were one of my clients. And what I've noticed over time is that when our clients are bolder and bolder about not making up their mind if their clients are ready, if their clients want it, you guys can adopt that attitude right when you go into a conversation. You will feel like you're selling less and in service more, right? Selling less that this program is the solution, and more in service to, I have this thing, I have this program that is amazing. It changes lives. It's yours if you want it. It's yours if you want to stretch towards it. It's here if you want to reach towards it.
I love that reframe, Serena, and I really want to underline what you just said. You are in service to the program you create. Can you guys feel that? It cleans it up. It's not about you convincing somebody that you're their mentor. You become a servant to the program you create. How many of you have put in a few hours into creating some good stuff for clients? Raise your hand if you've put in more than a few hours. You've put in some blood, sweat, and tears. So now you become a servant to that program, right? You become a believer in that program. You're willing to stand for that program. Really quickly, the way that today is going to go, because I know some of you are curious, we're going to split the day into 2 parts. We're going to go for a couple hours. We're going to take a lunch break. We're going to go for a couple more hours. We'll be taking a lunch break probably in about 2 hours. The first half of the day is going to be around a lot of role plays around grow and individualization of each of the results and benefits that each of you offer, and making sure you guys are on point with that. And then the second half of the day is going to be more around objection busting and really stepping into an even greater commitment to what it is that you have to offer. We're going to be linking back the things that we're teaching today to you on camera, to you on stage, to you in one-on-one conversations, to you in webinars, to you on Facebook Live, because it's in those moments when you have the opportunity to make an offer that your innate knowledge of grow is going to make the biggest difference. Can you guys feel that? It's not always just about having the grow conversation memorized. It's about actually getting it in your bones so that you can be it. Inquiry that Serena's about ready to do with you is a little check-in. You don't actually need the handout for the inquiry. So grab a pen and paper and let's start with a quick check-in about your relationship with enrollment.
Awesome. Thank you, Sage, for highlighting those pieces. And ladies, as you're getting those handouts in front of you, we're going to go through the first 4 questions. The last piece I wanted to add was I think I've done over 500 grow conversations. And I just want to say that there's no substitute for that kind of practice, because every conversation is so different. So as we go through these questions, don't be too hard on yourself if you haven't mastered every part of the grow conversation. It's really practice, 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 practice. So the first question you're going to jot down on the handout or on your notepad, either way, no big deal, is what is the biggest problem I'm having with enrollment? The biggest problem I'm having with enrollment is, and just jot down a few things that you really struggle with.
And if you don't see it as a problem, just what's the gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest gap?
Yeah. And then the next question is, write down the step of the grow model that you're most comfortable with, that's easiest or maybe most approachable for yourself. Third question, the step of the grow model I'm least comfortable with is. Another swing at that one. Where is the room to grow? And the last question, take a breath. Tune into yourself. The thing I'd like to get out of this call today is, right? The one thing. Oftentimes when we make a 1-degree shift, we can end up in a completely different destination. There's one final question that Sage wants to ask.
So the last question is a question that we actually asked you guys to do to prep for this day. And the final question is something that Sylvia posted in the Enrollment Ninja Facebook group. And it's basically, we want to know the title of your group program, the key benefits that you offer. And I would also love to know who it's for if it's not obvious in your description. Does that make sense? So as you're creating the program, and as you're like, for some of you guys have already sold the program quite a few times, and now you're stepping into another level of creation. Some of you guys have already done a lot of sales of your program, Elizabeth, Michelle, Sophia, Junie, Jill, you've sold quite a bit. For those of you guys that are a little further along, Rachel, you guys have sold into your program. So now you have to keep asking yourself, how do I continue to make this life generating for me? The package that you create for clients has to work for you first, and then them. If it doesn't work for you, if you don't feel excited to deliver, guess what's going to happen to the energy of your program? Can you guys feel that? If I had led Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy the same way the second year as I had to lead it the first year, I would have been lifeless within that. Does that make sense, you guys? If you don't keep making it better for you each time you launch it, it's hard to feel motivated. Is that helpful to hear? Right? So each time you relaunch the program, I'm going to invite you to do at least one thing to the program that makes it better for who? Yes, for you, right? That's one of the big tricks to, I think, growing these training companies. I've had a lot of my colleagues that started out with me 7 years ago come back around and go, holy shit, Sage, I've still got 40 people in my program. You've got like hundreds. Like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And one of the things I ask them is, how passionate are you about actually delivering on the programs you're delivering on? How much do you look forward to being with your clients? Are you still loving it? Because yeah, your program's not going to keep growing every year, if you don't still love it, if you don't still want to actually bring the things you're bringing to the clients. Now, for those of you that are still learning, you're still in that place where you've put, not more than 10 or 12 people in your program. You're still in that single digits place. Some of you guys are there. One of the things that we want to really get you clear on today is, just like Serena said, you are a steward to this thing that you've birthed. Become a steward to it. Trust it. Trust the grow conversation. The grow conversation cleans up a lot of codependency and ambiguity. Can you guys feel that? It's not about convincing, and it's not about leaning too far out. Raise your hand if you feel yourself leaning too far out during grow. You're not leaning in enough. Okay. And raise your hand if you've ever found yourself leaning a little too far in. You're attached. You find yourself almost being a little bit convincing. A few of you can do that too. And funny how we also will sometimes flip back and forth, right? And so when you're in right relationship with your program, and there's never a conversation that I get on. There's never a time when I get on camera and make an offer when I haven't glanced at the program, glanced at the promises of ELA, glanced at the promises of leverage, glanced at the thing that I know is the most useful to women about being with us for one whole year, right? A sacred commitment that you make to yourself, your dream, your business building for a year, some of you 2 years, some of you 3 years. I always feel that in my body. I think about your faces. And then I get on camera and make the offer. And so all you need is one. All you need is one person that you've helped. And does everybody here have at least one person that you've helped? Anybody not quite there yet, which is totally fine. I think everybody's there. Jennifer, are you still working on getting your first client?
Well, no, I mean, I've gotten wedding clients and I've done a lot of things, but I'm just, because I'm making a
it's
pivot,
a new package.
do like a new thing, or
it's a new package.
It's just new.
And in the meantime, you can still use that face of somebody you've helped, you've made a difference for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is you guys don't want to go into making an offer on camera. You don't really want to go into an enrollment conversation with just your own, right? Don't go in just alone. Bring in the energy of the people you've helped, right? I don't care if they've signed up for the exact program that you're offering or not. It's like sisters don't let sisters speak alone. Well, sisters don't let sisters make offers alone, right? And you all have, you all have the energy of people that you can bring in with you, so that you can beef up your own belief. Write that down. That's what's so important, that you spend a little bit of time beefing up your own belief in the thing you're offering. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about how you woke up feeling this morning, what mood you're in, whether your husband or your wife looked at you strange, or, right? You're in a bad mood. Who cares? It's not about that. It's about the program. It's about the transformation that you're offering. What about this? For the step of the grow model that you're most comfortable with, how many of you guys are most comfortable with a G? You love helping people get their vision. You love helping people get their big why. How many of you are most comfortable with a reality? You're good at going deep. You're good at helping people flush out the grit, the stuff in their life. Raise your hand if you're best at the options. You like laying out a little plan for people. Hardly any hands. Kira, maybe Kia. Raise your hand if you feel super confident about wrap up. Wrap up's your favorite one. You love sharing your program. Okay, nobody. Okay, we will work a little bit on the W today. So raise your hand if the step of grow that you feel like you're the least comfortable with is wrap up. That's probably the one you need the most support on. Raise your hand if it's the O, the options. Yeah, just a few of you. Okay, good. All right, grab your handout, and we just want to go through a few things that are just like of the utmost importance here. You guys have a fill in the blank opportunity on your handouts. And the reason we did that was because some of you will probably remember some of this stuff better when you actually are forced to write things down. Ha ha. So here's the thing. When you guys are in a conversation with somebody, your job is not to figure out if they can afford your service or not. That's not your job. Your job is to figure out their commitment level. Their what level? Commitment level. Good. That's your job. You're like a detective of commitment. And when you do that, when you make it about how committed are you for Mara, how committed are you to having a brand that you feel so confident about? For Rose, how committed are you to living in a life of flow and orgasmic spiritual oneness every single moment? How bad do you want that? And are you willing to make the changes, right, that are required to step into that? That's what you're doing in these conversations, to find out how committed they are. That's why it's so critical that you find out their big why. You know, we always harp on you guys about why they want it, why they want it. Well, the reason why you want to know that is because it's an indicator of their commitment. And when you do a good job of understanding their commitment and helping them ramp up their own commitment, then it's not about whether they hire you or not. It's about whether they're committed to their own transformation. So as you are building out your programs, as you're stepping into the business that you're running, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that your time is the most important. Not their time, but your time. That's what it takes to become what I call an enrollment ninja. Because here's the thing, you guys. I just talked to a gal that jumped into leverage last week. I'm not going to mention any names, but she had gone through 2 of my coaches. She had talked to 2 coaches on the team, and both of the coaches had spent 3 to 4 hours with her each. And my response to them was, why did you spend that long with her? Why didn't you cut her off and have her make a decision, right? And so I got on the phone with her, and 30 minutes later, she was in. And yeah, I'm Sage Levine. I'm the CEO of the company. So that helps for sure. But this isn't a one-off situation. I've had this situation many times where when I lay down the law of here's how much time I have, here's when we're hopping, you know, if you'd like to get the discount, we'll need to talk within the next couple days. The quick decision discount's only good for a couple days, right? When it's clear what you're offering and what your parameters are, you get to be the self-appointed queen. You know, I interviewed Lisa Sasevich yesterday because her new book came out, and she said something that I thought was really interesting. You know, Lisa's kind of known as the queen of sales. And she said, you know, years ago when I decided I was going to be good at sales, I queened myself. I literally crowned myself the queen of sales. And I came out, I told everybody, I'm the queen of sales. I put it in my bio. I put it in my intro. And you want to know what? Nobody tested me on it. Nobody challenged me on it because I had decided I was a queen of sales. And I was like, I fucking love that. So my question to every single one of you is, what do you want to be the queen of? Do you want to be the queen of serpent love energy? Do you want to be the queen of manifestation? Do you want to be the queen of branding? What do you want to be the queen of? And are you willing to self-appoint yourself and honor the time that you're putting into this thing? You guys know grow. Many of you could recite grow in your sleep. And the question is, are you being it? When you sit down to make a Facebook Live video, is grow the first thing that comes to your mind? Are you overlaying it on the different things that you create and the different things that you do? And how are you starting the conversation out? This is one of the things that we want to role play with you guys, is because how you start that conversation is going to lay the framework and the foundation for how the conversation goes. Does it make sense? If you don't start strong in that conversation, if you don't start with clarity, if you don't start with confidence around how the conversation is going to go, then your potential client can just take you in whatever direction they want. So we're going to practice that piece. Serena, will you share just a few more of these pieces around the, just the detective, like what are we trying to figure out here?
It's so important to get them to their emotional reason, why they want support. And the detective work that Sage is really asking us to lean into is those bold questions. You know, why would they want support? Do they land in overwhelm? Are they the kind of person that pushes themselves to burnout? What does that look like in their everyday life? We often talk about people who cry by when they get to that place where they're just like, oh, I can't go on with this any longer. Again, it's them discovering how badly they need their solution. The other piece that is really important to help them identify is their indulgent why. Why do they want the thing that they say they want? And I have to say, ladies, that this is not an easy piece for most women to self-divulge, because being indulgent in our pleasure, being indulgent in why we want what we want and our desires is not acceptable in our society. So to dig down into their indulgent why usually takes some focus on your part as a mentor of making it safe enough for them to keep speaking about it. Number 7 on your handout is something I really got clear on this year when I was working to offer ELA, because I would diligently take notes and I would let my clients know right when I got on that grow conversation, I'm going to be taking notes on you. So please don't worry if I'm not making eye contact, but I really want to understand your position. And I would take diligent notes about their problems and the words that they said and how they described their desires. And then when I laid out the program in the wrap up, tying it back, I heard you say that you get into overwhelm and that overwhelm is what stops you from moving on your business. That is why our library has done for templates that month by month so that you can do one thing at a time and do it well. Keep linking back their problems and their desires to the offer and to the results of the program. Number 8, what is their deepest longings? And you know, this may feel similar to their emotionality or what is the reason why they want emotional support, but their longings really have to do with the future and sometimes of what they didn't get in the past. We always recommend, number 9, that you use their words to the best of your ability, because especially when you're in these grow conversations, ladies, and you're creating this safe space where the women are really describing maybe sometimes things they've never described before, and you paraphrase their words. Most of the times I do that, they come back with, no, that's not exactly it. What I meant was da 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 da. Right? So using your words to the best of their ability. And oftentimes I'll paraphrase, what I heard you say is that right? Because we don't have to be perfect in these grow conversations. Just the earnestness of trying to grab what they said, it means a lot. So if you want to write that down, I often say, what I heard you say is, did I get that right? Because sometimes just asking them again, it plumbs them for a deeper response. They're like, oh, you just repeated back to me the surface. What's really true is this other thing. And then it'll come out with that reflection. And the best that you can, keep taking those notes, keep putting that back so that when you do go to offer them the program, that you can use their exact words, right? What I heard you say is that you long for free time so that you can spend time with your grandchildren playing soccer. That means so much to you. If you write that down instead of so that you have free time, it just lands so much more personal, like they're being gotten. These hacks will definitely help you personalize these grow conversations and help your clients feel like you're really hearing them. And that's a taste of what they're going to get in your program, right? They're going to get that individualized support, that real tracking that women really want is to be seen, heard, and felt.
Beautiful. I could not agree more. Just a couple more things. When you guys are starting these conversations and you're going into either a one-on-one conversation or whether you're going into a video, you want to make sure that you hit these 2 points: credibility, vulnerability, right? When I was in the conversation with Lisa Nichols, I wanted her to know that I could hold my own in that conversation, right? I was able to mention that we had over 1,000 paid participants for our virtual event. I was able to let her know that at that point we had created $750,000 worth of revenue, $750,000, because I wanted her to see me as somebody who could really contribute to her. That was appropriate in that conversation because of the level she's playing. It might not have been appropriate in other conversations. So know who you're talking to, right? Every single one of you can mention, I was working with one of my clients and such happened, right? Make sure you bring that phrase into your videos, into your enrollment conversations. Let people know you have clients. Let people know you've been in business for a while. Let people know that you have some chops. It's going to help them feel even safer leaning into you. It's not about ego. It's about credibility. Can you guys feel that? And don't forget to bring in the vulnerability, the humanity. I also told Lisa Nichols that when our event got canceled 2 days before the event was supposed to take place, I fell to my knees and started crying because it was true. Like, we were all systems go for one track. And in one instant, my entire world fell apart. And that's just real. I'm like, I never want to be seen as the leader who has all her shit together all the time. That's just not who I am, right? So I really believe in imperfect, messy, bold action. And that's what I'm about. And that's what we stand for in this particular culture, right? And it's one of the reasons why we all get to do this together, because we're all doing it as amazingly beautiful, radiant, imperfect humans and not robots. That's our culture. You know, when you share your vulnerability, you're actually letting people know your values. It's not just about showing them their weakness, your weakness. It's about showing them that you're a whole human, right? And it invites their vulnerability as well. Whenever I am in a conversation with somebody and I'm not quite sure how to handle somebody's objection, I go to a personal story. It's the single most effective place you can go when you're not quite sure how to share somebody's objection, to just quickly go into a place of, I totally get it. I've been there. Here's what it looked like for me. I remember when I got divorced, I spent weeks feeling like I had no energy. I didn't even recognize myself, right? If you can't find a personal story, but you have a story of one of your clients, that's another great story to share to help overcome objections. And then don't forget that it's always really powerful to share research or a statistic or a piece of credibility around, like, for me, one of the pieces of credibility that we oftentimes share here at Women Rocking Business is that when you have somebody holding accountable to follow through on the actions you say you're going to take, and you have not just one person, but a community of people, and it's that same person or that same community week after week, you are up to 90% more likely to follow through, right? It's an important piece of data that has everyone trust and believe in mentorship that much more. At the end of the day, when you've served enough clients, you'll find that the big objection that people have, it's not your program. The big objection they have is their own ability to succeed in your program. Does that make sense, you guys? The biggest objection they have is themselves, and that they don't believe in themselves. And so your stories give them the examples of people, including yourself, who have made the change, even though it's terrifying to make some of the changes that you're asking people to make. And this piece about using their words, it's not just about their words. I want to add into what Serena said. It's about matching their pace. So, quick funny story. I went on a bike ride up in the mountains with my friend Grace. You guys know Grace Gamboa. She's on our team. She sometimes comes to our events. Grace and I went on a bike ride on Saturday. And on the way home from the bike ride, we got lost. And then the check engine light on her car went on. And then her car literally stopped working in the middle of the highway. And so we're tired. We'd been lost. There's no food in the car, et cetera, et cetera. And she has a follow-up sales conversation with somebody that just jumped into leverage at 2 p.m. And it's 5 minutes to 2. And so I look at her and I was like, okay, why don't you call roadside assistance because it's your car and I will take your follow-up sales call. And she's like, wow, the person I'm in conversation with is going to be very excited that it's Sage Levine on the line and not me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm like sweaty, I'm dirty, like I'm about to take a sales call literally on the side of the highway. And so we told the gal what was going on. She's amazing. She has an online education program. And Grace had quickly gotten roadside assistance on the way and was studying everything I was doing on my sales call. And Grace was like madly taking notes on how I was handling the sales call. And one of the things that she reflected to me that I did that I didn't even know I was doing was that I talked way slower than I normally talk. And one of her first questions for me was, were you talking to somebody who talks a little bit more slower and a little bit more deliberately? And I was like, yeah, she's very grounded, very like a slower pace. And she's like, I noticed you did that immediately. She reflected back a couple of other things to me that I'll be sharing with you guys today, but it's like, don't forget that your job is to be a container for this person. When you are their mentor, you become their container. Does that make sense, you guys? You become the container in which they're making change. And so especially when you're one-on-one with them, the more you can match them, the more they can feel that container around them, because the container becomes like a vibrational match to where they are. All right. So what I think would be fun, Serena, is if we pull one of you guys on who wants to enroll Serena. Who wants Serena as a client today? Who wants to practice, grow, and get high-level coaching from 2 masters? And let's bring, I think, Rachel Amara. And
all your programs. That was
you're gonna start out the conversation, right, Rachel. And Rachel, I want you to get us through the O. As soon as you lay out a mini plan, we're gonna pause you. So your main focus is gonna be strong start, G and the R, and then get us through some kind of a mini plan, and then we're gonna pause.
Okay.
Any questions?
Just a couple minutes, I imagine.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes for this. Don't feel too constricted. The education for every single one of us here is going to be in listening to you do this completely beautifully and imperfectly and wonderfully. Raise your hand if you're willing to give Rachel total permission to just be herself in this. And the real education, we're all going to get a ton out of just listening and learning, and also the debrief. So, you know, I'm very confident that every single one of us is going to get something out of this, including me. So any other questions?
No.
Rachel,
hey, Serena saw a video that you did a couple days ago on what's the topic?
On getting out of overwhelm.
Yeah. And Serena's been a little bit overwhelmed and stressed, and she may need some support. And you may be the right person to help her. So you guys scheduled a follow-up discovery session after maybe a little bit of back and forth on Facebook. And now you guys are in a conversation.
All right. Great. Well, hi, Serena. It's so good to connect with you.
Hi, Rachel. Phew, it's been a lot just to get on this call with you.
Well, congratulations, you made it. I want to acknowledge you for that, and just knowing how much you took time out for yourself. I know that's a big step right now.
Yeah,
And
thank
I'm
you.
curious.
So much happening right now. I'm just like completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd love to hear more about that. Tell me a little more. What's
Yeah, the
going
world
on?
is changing. I do these gatherings and I have people coming in person. I've been doing that my whole life, and now everything's going online. I'm doing my first virtual event, and I'm just like, I don't even know where to start. My to-do list is a mile long.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. And what does that mean for you? How is that affecting your health, let's say?
Well, I'm having a hard time eating because my stomach feels like it's in knots, and yeah, I've got like a kind of chronic stomach ache, and then I either eat too much or too little, and yeah, my energy feels really wonky right now.
Gosh, yeah, that sounds challenging for sure. Is there anything else that's going on that to-do list is really affecting for you?
Well, there's just this mountain of technology that I'm having to learn about how to get online and how to connect with my people, and how to just click all the buttons and who's admin and the videos and all the things.
So I'm hearing a lot, yeah, and that so you're not eating well, you're feeling a little bit constrained there, and your stomach's upset, so your physical health is affected, and then you've got all this technology that's piling up, and you're trying to figure that out. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I took a cut in pay, and so now I'm living at my mom's house, and I really love my mom, but she drives me nuts. She talks all the time. She's always trying to tell me about her strawberries and her beans and her things, and it's just so much.
Wow, yeah, that's just added, I'm sure, to the pressure cooker that you're in. And tell me, Serena, how does this make you feel? How are you feeling as a result of all of this?
I feel a lot of things, and it's hard to know what exactly I am feeling because there's so many different feelings right now.
Well, can I offer a suggestion or a tool that I like to use in terms of how I can find out how I feel?
Sure.
Might be helpful. So if you had to name a feeling and you just had to pick one of these 5, which one would you pick? And maybe there's multiple ones, but there's fear, there's joy, anger, sadness, or hurt.
I'd say it's all of them except for joy.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's just take a moment then, because I think that's so much, and I just want to acknowledge how challenging that is. There's a lot going on for you right now. And I also want to ask you something else, because
Hey, pause real quick. Is it okay if I pause you?
Yeah.
I didn't ask for permission ahead of time, so I'm so sorry. I'm just realizing, how many of you guys are noticing Rachel is doing so many things right? Like, she's taking Serena really deep. She's doing such a good job. Is there, who has a quick acknowledgement for Rachel? Something she's done really well so far. Yeah, Sarah.
She did a great job of checking in. Is that accurate, or is that right? Something like that.
Totally, 100%. Kia.
Super present with the person that she's talking to.
Really present with the person. I don't know what's going on with your microphone, Kia, but you might want to play with it a little bit. You sound robotic. Jennifer.
Nicely, and her pace, her voice.
The pace and the voice, yeah, is really matching Serena. Really, I feel very safe just listening to Rachel, kind of holding her. Love it. Michelle?
You can tell she really cares, and she's repeating back very well what she's saying to her, so she can reflect on what she's saying.
100%. Okay, I'm going to have you guys save more acknowledgements for the end. What is one thing you'd love to see a little bit more of, or you haven't heard Rachel do yet? She's about 5-6 minutes in. Sarah?
Rachel, take a big breath. All those acknowledgements, Rachel. Breathe it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So much you did right.
I heard a bunch of words from Serena, like a mountain of stuff, of belly's feeling wonky, clicking all the buttons, and that you translated into your stomach is upset, overwhelmed, or something else versus using her words. Because you heard her, and then, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the wonky, just wow, what a great word to throw back at her. Wonky.
Yeah.
Love it. And Rachel, absolutely, you are doing a phenomenal job. How many of you guys are kind of glad it's Rachel right now and not you? Doing a conversation in front of 20 people. This is no joke. You are doing amazing, Rachel. I am taking notes on how beautifully you're doing. The other thing I'd love to invite you to throw in right now, find a way to throw it in. You're 5-6 minutes into the conversation. I want to know something about your credibility. And then I'd love to know something about your own humanity, of something about that you see this with the other clients, something about, God, I can really relate to that feeling of a mountain of technology, right? Or whatever it is, right? And I'm going to let you keep going because you're doing freaking amazing.
Thank you. Okay. And Serena, I, by the way, I so relate in this sense of the amount of technology and feeling so wonky in it, where I know when I burned out of Google, I had no idea which way was up. And I just wanted to curl up in a corner because I had no idea what to do next. And if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like that's what you're going through. Is that what you're thinking, hearing?
Yeah, it feels really good alone in this.
Yeah. And now that it's been about 7 years since I did have my own personal crisis in this, the good news is that I know there's another side. Like, I know how to help women move through what is feeling so overwhelming in the moment and find again how to feel like they're back in the driver's seat and feeling good. Does that sound like something that you want?
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean about being in the driver's seat.
Yeah, no worries. I can share more. But I actually wanted to ask you, because I think that means something different for all of us, being in the driver's seat. So tell me, Serena, what would that feel like? Like, what would you want to feel like right now if you could wave your magic wand and design from a clean slate?
I'd want to feel like I'm creating from a place of passion, creating from a place of groundedness, instead of this like, I got it, trying to keep up.
Yeah. And tell me, why would that matter so much for you? Why would you want to feel that place of passion?
Because when I do feel that missing emotion of the 5 or 6 that you listed, joy, like my joyful place is when I'm creating from what I'm passionate about, what I care about, what feels meaningful to me, not just doing out of fear or frustration.
Yeah. So feeling the connectedness to your joy, and feeling that, I'm already noticing how calm you look as you're thinking about that. What are you feeling right now?
I slowed down and I was just like, I sunk in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is what I want for you too. And I think what you're sharing is totally possible, where you can feel that joy and you can be that grounded just by tweaking a few things in how you want to be and creating that for yourself. And the good news is the good news is that I would love to support you in that. And I know that it's possible for you. Would you like me to lay out a mini plan for you right now?
Sure.
So based on what you shared, one thing that you can start doing right now is simply to name one of those 5 primary feelings. Do you remember what they are?
No, please repeat them.
Yeah, you might want to write them down too, because they are something that as a tool you can use. So there's joy, fear, anger, sadness. And then the 5th one, a lot of people don't know about or think about, is hurt. Fear, hurt, joy, sadness, anger. There's no particular order, but what happens is when you name a feeling, in the moment, you drop into your body and you get out of your head. And a lot of times that overwhelm comes from being stuck in our thoughts. So how does that sound?
It sounds easy to say and hard to do.
Are you willing to try it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely.
Great. Well, that's one mini tool that I can offer you right now. And I have so many that I would love to share that I think you would really benefit from.
And I'm curious, Rachel, like how you help people like me stay out of overwhelm so that I can live, so that I can handle my work stress. Because the work piece right now, like I was sharing with the technology and everything, is the part that's really, really weighing on me. And I'm just wondering, do you help people in this particular area?
Mm-hmm. I actually specialize in that particular area to help people get out of overwhelm at work. And I have a program that I think you would be an ideal person to as a great fit, called Thrive, Lead, and Succeed. And it's literally a program that teaches you how to reclaim your life. And I have had a dozen women go through this program in the last 2 years who have learned these skills that I know are totally learnable, who had just the same type of overwhelm as you, who are now feeling like they're in control of their lives and not only succeeding in what they thought was possible, bringing passion to their work and feeling grounded, but they're getting promoted, or they're finding a new job that does fit even better than before. They're having better personal relationships because they're so much more aware of what they can do differently. And all it is simply learning these tools that can help train how you are in the moment with others, like naming a feeling and being more in a space of calm and understanding what could be different. Is that something that you're willing to look into?
Nice. Well, I don't know.
I'm going to pause you guys here. You guys are doing great. I love this. What else are you guys seeing in Rachel right now? One or two more quick acknowledgements, and then we're going to keep debriefing this. How does this feel for you, Rach?
Yeah, so it feels scary. It feels like I'm a little bit like in uncharted territory, honestly, because I'm not used to weaving in credibility, and I'm not used to weaving in just like the reflecting back and like following growth in this way.
Yeah.
Feels new.
But what I acknowledge you for is that you pushed yourself to try on some new things that we've been talking about today. Yeah. Well done. And, I just want to give also voice to that. This is a particularly challenging scenario because we don't have very much context for the conversation. Like, we don't know what Serena heard Rachel say on the video last week or not. And normally, Rachel, you would have a little bit more context. Yeah. You might be able to reference the video. Oh yeah, I know that when you were watching last week's video, you might have heard me talking about the stress reduction tools at work, right? And those kinds of natural ways to reference credibility aren't here because we're making it up. So I just want to say that we gave you an extra challenging situation, but we knew that you were up for it because you're Rachel O'Mara and you're a badass. And Mara, did you have an acknowledgement?
Yeah, I just see a lot of and feel a lot of empathy and compassion and just like really like heart connection to what she was sharing. And also just like holding from like the first half to the second half, it really felt like you really like held the container in the second half. Like I felt this like confidence.
Yes. Did you guys feel that? Awesome. Thank you, Mara. All right. Any other ideas for Rachel that are coming to mind right now? Jill.
I love that you, in her overwhelm, you offered her a little tool. Yeah. The little taste of you that you were giving her has the potential to be so incredibly powerful. So I invite you to really stand in how amazing you are. When you make that decision to offer the tool, it needs to come through as, oh my gosh, this is going to be so huge for you. Give it the time it deserves to let her sit in how, oh my gosh, if she did this for me in just these few minutes, what could she totally do for me? Because that tool you were giving her had the potential to be really mind-blowing for Serena. You just kind of went over it so fast. I think she got a little lost in it. But you're so badass in what you do. Don't forget that. And don't forget what a gift you're offering these women in a discovery session for that.
That's a great
for
tip.
Those few minutes.
Yeah, and we can all take something from that, because when we offer our one tip, that one free thing, right? That one hot tip, if we make it sound so easy, and you said that multiple times, it's so easy, anyone can do it, anyone can do it. I started to get convinced, well, then I'll just do that and I'll be fine. All they have to do is name one of my emotions.
Yeah.
And it's all good. And if we do that in the growth conversations, our clients often take that thing, they're like, well, fine, well then what do I need a 6-month program for? You just gave me the gold. So Rachel, when you're offering that one free gift or that one free tip, you can also say, you know, this is so powerful. And it's really about practicing over time and having someone hold you accountable to actually practicing it, that this becomes an indelible habit that changes your life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I really want to add on to that. That was well said, Serena. And what I wrote down on my notes is I wrote down, always give context to your toolbox. And this is a enrollment ninja hack for every single one of you. Always give context to the tools in your toolbox. And one of the ways to give context is to refer to your program or to all of your tools rather than just picking out one in the beginning. So if you had gone into it by saying something like, so as you know, my specialty is helping women navigate stress and really minimize stress at work, and especially in the workplace, because, you know, that's usually the place where it all comes up, right? And by the way, if you have stress coming up at work, you're doing something right. Because what it means is that you actually aren't playing small at work. You've put yourself in a stressful environment at work because you're a strong, independent woman who wants to create big things. So first of all, congratulations for having stress at work, right? You guys can all congratulate the people you're talking to for having the problems that they have. If they were just hiding out all the time, they wouldn't have these problems. They'd have other problems. Are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? Yeah. It's almost like you want to edify people for the challenges that they're walking through. You're walking through this because you're a freaking go-getter. Serena's creative. She's a visionary. She's incredible. She's not going to settle for a half-baked life, right? So that's why she's up against overwhelm, because she's said yes to a lot of projects right now. She didn't cancel her event because she can't do it live. She's taking it virtual. That's amazing. And in pivoting that much, you are, you know, I'm guessing it'll be really helpful for you to have a full toolbox full of these stress reduction tools, especially work-related stress. And so that's what I do, right? Over the course of 6 months, over the course of 12 months, I teach these tools to women one by one so that by the time they're done, they have a tool for every situation they could encounter. That being said, I'd love to teach you one right now. Would that be okay? Right? So you guys can really, in a classy way, you don't want to be that tacky, like, well, I'm going to give you one, but it won't work without these 11 others, right? I have a firm belief that I never teach an incomplete skill. When I'm teaching on camera, when I'm in an enrollment conversation, I never give somebody half of a skill, right? If I'm teaching Facebook groups, I'm like, go start your Facebook group. Here's how to do it. Here's how to get started with Facebook groups. I can't teach you everything to do in the group for the next 6 months because that's like a whole business model. But I'm not going to like elude to Facebook groups and not just tell people to go start a Facebook group, right? So it's like, can you guys feel how this is the giving way of selling, is to give people one, but reference the fact that there's a whole set of them, right? And you're going to give her a complete one. And that way, when you have set the context of your toolbox, by the way, we're about an hour and a half into the training. If any of you guys want to go back and get the recording of any of what I just said. Then when you say, I have this one tool, it's and you could even give it a name. It's a emotional identification tool.
The 5 feelings.
It's a 5 feelings tool. And then to give it a little bit of context, right? So you mentioned overwhelm when we first started talking. The number one cause of overwhelm is that you're thinking a lot. You're in your head so much. So one of the quickest ways out of overwhelm is to get you into your body. And one of the ways to get you into your body is to identify a feeling. So there's a 5 feeling tool I'd like to teach you. If Rachel had presented it that way, how many of you guys would have been even more excited about the tool, right? So just like Jill is saying, Sarah, don't minimize how badass this is. You have amazing tools, and just practice. Write this down. There's a saying that says, an ounce of pre-framing saves a pound of reframing. An ounce of pre-frame saves a pound of reframe. And can you guys feel how in some ways in this conversation, Rachel's almost having to go back and assure Serena that she actually does help women in the workplace with their stress reduction tools, because we didn't do that in the beginning. And so it doesn't really matter what video people saw you on video, whether people attended a talk you gave, it doesn't really matter. You still have to, and you don't have to, but it's going to be very advisable for you to reestablish that credibility of who you are and what you do in the first few minutes of the conversation. Can you guys feel that? Because to have to go back and be like, yeah, that's what I do. That's actually what I do. You lose a little bit of your own potency. Okay. Is that helpful, you guys, to hear all that? All right. Anything?
Sage,
yeah.
Is that kind of like a 2-minute little, like 1.5 minutes that we want to have really, really prepared and refined?
Well, I would say name your tools, give them a name.
Mm-hmm.
And when you guys, if you're choosing one tool to give out in your grow conversations, if you're choosing one tool, you've got to set the context for that tool, just like I mentioned earlier. Let people know why the tool is important, and then it's one of many. Maybe it's step 5 of your 10-step process. Give them some kind of a point on a map to let them know that this is one of many before you actually give them the tool. Does that make sense, you guys? And then the other thing that you can do is you can lay out a little plan that's more about results. Like when we are in our sessions with people, we like to lay out a little plan that's based on numbers. Here's what we see as possible for you in terms of creating the revenue that you want in your business, right? So Rachel could have also taken Serena in the direction of, 6 months from now, you're telling me you want to be passionate, grounded. You want to be creating from a place of passion rather from like this breathless, like I heard you go, right? I heard you do that thing. You want to be creating from a totally different, more grounded space. Is that right? Great. And then, right, I could see that over the next 6 months, right, if we are able to introduce a couple of these stress reducing tools each week so that you have these tools that you're practicing, that 6 months from now, you can absolutely be in a place where you're creating from flow, you're creating from passion. You're not getting caught up in that breathless place that I heard you refer to, right? And so that would be a great place to go from the 5 feeling tool. I love the 5 feeling tool. I think it's a great tool. It's short enough that you can give it to somebody in a grow conversation. I just encourage you to give it a little bit more context. The one other thing that I'd like to see you guys do when you go into your breakout rooms to practice is I would encourage you guys to start powerfully, start the conversation out with more context setting. Rachel basically dove in. She did a great job. She just started asking questions. She's an amazing listener, but I never heard any reference to, so we're going to have about half an hour together. And, you know, you mentioned last week that you were struggling with some stress in your work. And I'm wondering if there was one aspect to the stress you're feeling right now that I could help you get a handle on in this session today. What would it be? I love starting enrollment conversations out by helping people, challenging people to identify what's the biggest thing you'd like me to help you with today. Because, and I also like to reference how much time we have, because it gives me permission to keep the conversation moving, right? Because if Serena had gotten really long-winded, which how many of you guys have been in an enrollment conversation with somebody who gets very long-winded, right? 4 hours later, and you still haven't made any money, right? You've got to remember whose time is most important here. Whose time? And when you honor your time, you actually set that person up to respect you more. Can you feel it? So we've got about 30 minutes together. I'd love to dive in. I'm going to keep it moving. I want to know a little bit about what you've tried. I want to know a little bit about what you want and what's in the way. And I'm curious if there was one aspect of this that I could really solve for you today or really support you with, one aspect of the stress. What would it be? Where do you want to start? You know? And sometimes people won't even answer the question and they just go straight off into vision. And I will let them. I'm like, okay, you're taking us into vision. Great. I'm going to get your vision down. I'm going to get the G down. Now we're in G. But I will bring it back around once I understand their vision and go, so I asked you at the beginning of the call, what's the biggest problem you have? I noticed we didn't quite get there. I'm going to bring us back around to that, right? So you can still let them go where they're going to go. But I'd say more conversations start out with the problem than with the goal or the vision, because that's why people are on the phone with you in the first place, right? One last acknowledgement for Rachel. Total badass.
Rachel, I felt your boldness come through in the second part of the conversation where you were just like really leaning in and being the bold space. And when you offered that you were a specialist in your area, like I literally perked up. I was like, oh, I'm talking to someone who's a specialist in this area. And that really caught my attention.
Yeah, 100%. Kiss for Rachel. Mwah. Kiss for Jill and Kia and Sarah and everybody that gave her awesome feedback. Who wants to share? What did you guys get out of that? I know it wasn't very much time, but I also know it's enough time to get an aha. Phoebe.
I loved that we were like under the gun to do the time. So like lasering the questions, taking the answer, repeating it back, then taking the next question. It was just like, stay focused on the purpose here.
It's amazing how much you can get done, right? Like yeah. I was listening to some of you. I was like, wow, you know, like I heard Michelle Kraft basically completely sell me into her program in like 3.5 minutes, you know, and several of you guys that I was listening to, it's like, yeah, those are the results I want, you know? So I think we overestimate how much time we need to spend. I love it. Kiss for Phoebe. Mwah. What else did you guys walk away with, or questions that are still niggling? Yeah, Jill.
It's amazing how fast when we practice immediately after you taught us something, it's amazing how fast we can implement it. It's like, because we get on our coaching calls, we're going, okay, I'm going to do that on my next discovery session. And then 2 days later, we try to do it. But getting to practice it immediately like that was super powerful.
Yeah, I'm excited about this whole year of mastermind calls, because the mastermind calls are just going to be more powerful, more specific skills. Getting to see people's faces is important, because there's a feedback that goes eyeball to eyeball that you can't get when you're on the phone. And so I really recommend that you guys do your enrollment conversations on Zoom or FaceTime or somewhere where you can see people, because especially in this global reset, when people aren't getting as much eye to eye with as much people, like our nervous systems literally get out of whack. Like eye to eye contact and communication that happens when you can see somebody actually creates normalizing serotonin in your system. And so without it, people are left imbalanced and hungry. And so it's a really great time also to sell one-on-one coaching packages when you guys can do the video coaching, because people can feel how necessary it is to sit down with somebody who's holding space for them, not just verbally, but visually. It's a really good time to sell coaching packages right now. Like, you guys, seriously, do not take do not take your foot too far off the gas of your offerings right now, because it's people are out there looking for solutions to the challenges they're having, more so than ever. What about you, Deborah?
I thought it was absolutely wonderful to hear how confident we all sounded when we all said we were so scared and didn't know what we were talking about, but yet each one of us sounded so confident.
Beautiful. I love it. And I wanted to ask you, I know you're helping people release anxiety, especially release anxieties. You're helping women. I'm wondering if we can get a little bit more specific for you on professional women. What kind of women?
When I came up with that, I really thought of women who, oh yeah, good question. I think I was thinking of women who may have been transitioning out of one career into another, or from marriage and, you know, maybe going through divorce, or in transitional women.
Have you been there before? Marriage, career transition?
I've gone through all of that. Divorce, career changes. Yeah.
And if you had to choose one to just start with, helping women navigate divorce, helping women navigate career transition, which one, if I could wave my magic wand and give you $10,000 a month, which I feel like I can because you're a badass, but which one is more juicy?
As long as I didn't get bogged down in career stuff, it would probably be career.
Okay, so I love this answer. As long as I didn't get bogged down in career stuff, then I would choose career. I can so relate. I'm curious, Sarah, you're a business coach. Elizabeth, you're a business coach. How many of us have said, as long as I don't have to get bogged down in business stuff, right? Mara, Phoebe, right? But like, I just really want us to hear ourselves, because I've caught myself going, okay, Sage, whose job is it to design a business where I could train entrepreneurs but not get bogged down? That's my job. That's my power, right? Am I leading all the calls for the programs anymore? No, I've got trainers to help me lead as we've grown. Am I the one always in there helping every single person one-on-one get their niche? No, there's not enough of me to go around. Are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? Like you guys are the ones who are going to build it as you want it. And so right there, I just want to call all of you out, and myself with total love, that you know, the block is not the career coaching, right? That you, Deborah, get to be the queen of this, and career coaching is so needed right now. Like, I would love to see you take this next month and leverage, take the month of May and fill a Facebook group full of women. Do you have a Facebook group of women on the career path yet?
I have one called Purpose Journey.
That's a great title for a group to do.
You helped me with that, and it's blossoming, and I'm getting people coming to it that without me looking for them.
Yeah. So honey, let's spend the month of May to get a couple hundred people in that group, if they're not there already. Do a 3-day video training on the steps to career clarity, and let's see what we can create, because you've got your finger right on the pulse of what people need the most right now. Yeah.
I'm on the fence with you. You know that.
I know, but I get you for one more month. For those of you guys that said yes, we get you for the month of May. It's my job to help you make so much money in May that there would be no other reason why, right? And if nothing else, if you're going somewhere else, I would so much rather you go with $10,000 in your pocket. I'm saying that to every single one of you. So kiss for Deborah. Mwah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Last share. What are you walking away from that with? Somebody I haven't heard from yet. Who haven't I heard from yet? Rachel, Stefanik.
The time pressure was really helpful. I really struggled with the trend. I'm coming into the online world kicking and screaming, basically. I love being in the room with people. And I'd been very worried that not having that connection would mean I wouldn't know enough about people. And so I really surprised myself big by being able to hone in on the one important thing and then being able to match a tool to that in under 5 minutes. So that was really helpful for my confidence.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And I love that you guys are willing to go kicking and screaming. And I love that you know that about yourselves, right? Because it's like, you don't have to get it all perfect. You don't have to get all the technology perfect. You don't have to do even half of what we tell you to do. You can do like 10 or 20% and still go out and get results. Raise your hand if you already have done like 20% of what we've shared and you've gotten like amazing results. Serena, so awesome to have you here this morning. What would you leave us with?
Replay. Oh my God. In the breakout room that I was observing, I just watched the confidence and the credibility that came from women. And it was really impressive. I want to leave you all ladies with practice, practice, practice. Practice doing your discovery sessions in 30 minutes. Even if you don't get to it, practice concentrated boldness and continue to take notes as you're talking so that you have exact verbiage of what the women are sharing so you can connect with them. And if I can do this, you guys really can do this. So keep going. So it's just an honor to be here. Every time I'm on the call with you and I'm listening to you pull from your seasoned experience, I learn something new. And I just want to say that it's an honor to be here with you. It improves my practice and it's really a delight.
I love you girls so much.